Good morning. Today we are working on CO48. I can find the slope of a line using a coordinate plane. So in order to do this, we need to know what a slope is. The slope is how a line moves across the coordinate planes. So basically you're finding what direction the line's going, what angle it's going at. So as that line is going across the plane, as we're drawing that line, we are going to find the slope. So how the slope is found, well, this is important, so we're going to write all of this down. The slope is the vertical change over the horizontal change. Now, vertical means going up or down. Horizontal means going right or left. Okay, so you have the vertical change goes over the horizontal change. So that is the change in y. Because remember, the y-axis goes up and down. That's over the change in x. So we put how many up or how many down, and then we put that over how many to the right or how many to the left. And the mathy term for this, so we can be those big mathematicians, is the change in y we call the rise, either rising up or going down, over the run. And think we run going across. So we don't run up into the sky, we run going across the ground. So it's rise over run is our slope. That's what you will see moving forward as we get further in our math. We will see rise over run. So this is how we find the slope. First thing we're gonna do is they're giving us two coordinate pairs. Last objective, we were graphing our coordinate pairs. So we know how to do that. They're gonna give us two pairs that we need to graph, and then we're gonna connect them in a line. And you're gonna make this line as straight as you can. Then we're gonna find the slope of the line. We're gonna show that change in y over the change in x, and it's gonna look like a fraction. Think of this as the fraction bar with that rise over the run. So let's look at our first one. Remember, we always read our graph from left to right. So with math, just like with reading, we go from left to right. So we're going to graph our two pairs, and then we're going to start at the point that's the farthest left, and we're going to go to the right. So our first pair is at -4, and then our y is 2. So I'm going to draw my circle there. Then I have -3, and I have 5. So my two dots look like that. And then I'm going to draw my line as straight as I can. Now a line keeps on going. So when we draw our line, we're going to put our arrows on the ends to show that it is actually a line and not a segment. So I graphed my two pairs. Now I need to find my slope. So I'm going to start at the dot that's farthest to the left, because reading left to right, we always start at the left side of our graph, moving to the right. I come to this dot first. Then I want to find the rise, that vertical change, the change in the y, our rise going up. So I'm going to start at my dot, my point, and I'm going to count how far up I need to go for my other point. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3 places. So that is my numerator. My rise is 3. I start here. That's my 0, where that first dot is. I count up 1, 2, 3. Now for my run, I count to the right because my next dot is to the right. So I go starting at 0 here, I move over 1 place. So my run is 1. So I have 3 over 1. That's all we have to do. We have to graph our 2 points, draw our line, and then write what the slope is. So let's look at our next 2 ordered pairs. I have a 1 and 6. That goes up here. Then I have a 5 and 3. That goes here. Always remembering that with our ordered pairs, it's X first, then the Y. So we do our X-axis first, then we count up our Y. We do our X-axis, count up our Y. Now I need to connect my 2 ordered pairs and make a line. My last step is to find that rise over the run. So remember, we always start on the left side of our graph, moving to the right, just like we are reading. I come to this point first. This time, instead of going up, I have to count down. So I'm counting down 1, because remember, where we start, the point that we start at is 0. I go down 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to put a 3 for my numerator, but because I went down, remember on that thermometer when we talked about that y-axis, going up is the positive numbers. When we go down, it's changing the direction of our line. Our line is going down instead of up. Over on this one, we were going up, so it was a positive 3. Over here, because we're going down, it's going to be a negative 3, and it shows that our line is going down as we move across. So negative 3. Now I need to count my run. So I'm going to start right here. That's my 0. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. I moved over 4 places, so my denominator is 4. So my slope of this line is negative 3 over 4. So if our line, this is important to remember, if the line goes up, it's going to be positive. If our line goes down, we have to count down for that rise. It's going to be a negative slope. So that negative slope always tells us that the line as we go from left to right is going downwards. So let's look at our next ordered pair. We have a negative 3 for the X, negative 3 for the Y. Then we have a positive 1 with a positive 5. So my line looks like, my ordered pairs look like that. So my line is going up. We know that if the line goes up, it's going to be positive. So it's when the line goes down that it's going to be a negative slope. Our line is going up, so we know it's going to be positive. So remember, we start at the left side of our graph. Going over, I come to this dot first. I'm going to count up for my rise. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we went up 8. So that is my rise. Since I was going up, it is positive. Now I need to count my run. How far to the right am I going? So I'm starting here, so that's my 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went to the right 4. Now I look at 8/4 and I say, Mrs. Gambino always says the final step of working with something that looks like a fraction is to simplify, simplify, simplify. I look at 8/4 and I say, I can divide a 4 out of both that 8 and the 4. So I'm going to divide a 4 out. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. My final slope in its simplified form is 2 over 1. So if we looked at our line, if I drew it nice and straight, we can see this spot right here would go up 2 over 1. So my line wasn't drawn the best, so it's not the clearest to see that it's 2 over 1 in the simplified form, but it truly is. So you are going to do that for the bottom 3, paying attention. If your line is going downwards, it's going to be a negative slope. If your line goes up, it is a positive. So going down is negative slope. When the line goes up, it is a positive slope. You also have to look at that final slope and see if you can simplify it. Simplify, simplify, simplify. So very important. You always start at the left side of your graph. Starting at the left, you look to see which point you come to first. And that's the point that you start at. You look to see, am I going up or am I going down? Is it a positive or a negative slope? You count how many you have to go to get to the next point. You do that rise, going up the Y or down the Y. Then you count over for the run to see how far over on the x-axis you have to go. So that is our first page. Let's look at the directions on our second page. We have the exact same directions. Plot the 2 given ordered pairs and connect them with the line as straight as you can. Then find the slope of each line. So you have to start at the left plotted ordered pair, go up or down, positive or negative for the top number. Then you go across for that bottom number, always going from left to right. Okay, it's going to really help you know if it's positive or negative. It is important that you have to start on the left point and then go over to the right point. Keeping in mind if it's positive or negative, keeping in mind, can I simplify? And then at the very bottom, time for review. We do have those 2-step equations from our last test. Just because that test is done does not mean we are done with 2-step equations. Remember, with 2-step equations, we are working backwards, doing SADMERP. So first, you got your adding or subtracting, then you have your dividing or multiplying. And remember, we are doing opposite operations. So if we were adding, we want to subtract. If we were multiplying, we want to divide. If we look at our first one, I have 8n, which is 8 times n, minus 3 equals 37. Well, minus 3, I want to add 3 to both sides. Minus 3 plus 3 gets me at the 0. So I have 8n equals 37 plus 3, which is 40. Now I have 8 times n, so I want to divide by 8 on both sides, because I want to do the opposite operation. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so I can just put n, because 1 times n would still just be n. 40 divided by 8 is 5. So I get n equals 5. I can go back and put 5 in for my n to make sure that my equation is correct. So 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 3 is 37. So I found the correct variable. I know sometimes we can do this as mental math, but I do want us practicing the steps, so when we get to more complicated problems, we know the steps that we need to do to solve it. On the bottom, we have to solve and graph our inequalities. So these are 1-step equations. Down here I have n plus 9, so I want to subtract 9. So n plus 9 minus 9 equals 0. Less than 20 minus 9 is 11. Remember, when we graph our inequalities, the first thing we do is we put our number line. Second thing we do is our circle. Does not equal 11, so it is an open circle. It is less than 11, which points to the left. So our arrow points to the left. So make sure you solve your inequality, then you graph it, doing all 3 steps: number line, circle, and arrow. If you have any questions, you can ask your teacher to try to answer it. You can ask classmates to help you. Slopes are a new thing. So if you're not sure if you're doing it correctly, we have the answer key up front. You can check to see if you are doing this correctly. I hope you are well. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.